The VM is now created, but you still have some networking configuration to do. pfSense is all about networking and security, and so far you have not allocated any network interface cards to this virtual machine. So let's go ahead and proceed with the network configuration. After that, you will finish the installation for pfSense. Typically, pfSense isolates the network traffic for internal and external networks by using different network interface cards. Consider a scenario where you have one network device which is connected directly to the internet, and the second network device is connected to the internal network. That is precisely how most pfSense installations are configured. So now let's replicate that scenario here. Here's the virtual machine dashboard, which was created in the previous demo. Click Edit Virtual Machine Settings. This new dialog box for virtual machine settings pops up. Here you can review and edit any settings for the virtual machine. Let's pay attention to the network adapter. Here you can see there is only one network adapter which is directly connected to the internet. So this could be the WAN network adapter. Now let's add an internal network adapter. Click the Add button. In the Hardware Type dialog, select Network Adapter. Click Next and click Finish. Okay, the second adapter was added to the virtual machine. Let's tweak the settings for this adapter. You want this adapter to be an internal network adapter which does not talk to the internet at all. Select the second adapter and in the LAN segment dropdown, select LAN segment. Within the context of VMware, a LAN segment is a private network that is shared by other virtual machines. A LAN segment can be useful for multi-tier testing, network performance analysis, and situations where virtual machine isolation is important. Okay, after taking care of the internal network adapter, let's also mount the ISO image for pfSense software. Select CD/DVD and click the Use ISO Image File radio button to mount the ISO image to the CD-ROM. Browse for the location where you saved the pfSense ISO file. Here it is in the Downloads folder. Select the ISO file and click the Open button. Click OK. Now that the virtual machine has been configured properly, all that is left to do is to start the machine. You can now begin installing pfSense. Click the Power on this virtual machine link. Now, VMware will launch this virtual machine, and since you have already mounted the bootable CD ISO image, it will boot into pfSense installer. Here it is. This is the home screen of pfSense installer. You are given a few choices on how you want to install pfSense. The first and default option is Boot Multi-User. This will continue the FreeBSD boot process. So let's press Enter to boot into the FreeBSD installer. The kernel will start to load and display boot output. After a minute, a text prompt will appear to install or enter recovery mode. Press I to launch the installer. If no selection is made within 10 seconds, it will continue to the installer automatically. Press I to launch installation when prompted to do so. The installer has now started, and it is giving us the opportunity to change display and other system settings. Let's accept all the default settings. Now select Accept these settings and press Enter. Then it offers the choice of a quick or easy install, custom install, and several other options. Select Quick Easy Install and press Enter. This easy install will take care of a lot of things like disk partitions, etc. Select OK and the installer will begin. pfSense will be installed on the first available disk in the system. It will take a few minutes to copy all of the files to the target disk, so let's allow it some time to finish. When the files have finished being copied, the installer will prompt to select either the embedded kernel or standard kernel. select standard kernel. Basically, this setting controls whether you get a VGA terminal or serial-based console. If this were an embedded device with no video card, then we would have picked the embedded kernel option. The installation continues. Okay, the installation is almost finished, and pfSense now needs to reboot. So press enter to reboot. While rebooting, make sure you unmount the CD so that the virtual machine boots from its hard drive and not from the CD-ROM again. To do that, right-click the CD icon in the tray below, go to Settings, and change the selection from Use ISO image file to Use physical drive in Connections and click OK. You can ignore any warning dialogues which may pop up. Click OK, and let's get back to the virtual machine. The machine has rebooted, and this is the boot screen for pfSense. Let's press F1 to continue booting pfSense. Note that this time it is booting from pfSense, which has been installed on the hard drive of this system. Okay, great. Now, the installation part of this process is complete. Here you can see that one of the IP addresses and networking interfaces has been assigned to WAN network connection. This is the EM0 network interface. EM1 has been assigned to the internal LAN network. WAN network interface has been assigned a dynamic IP address. This is typical for general purpose-based internet connections like cable, ADSL, or fiber optic ISP connections. You may also be allocated a fixed IP from your ISP. These settings can easily be changed within pfSense admin console or right here on the admin console. If you want to change the IP address, you can change it by selecting the second option, Set Interface's IP address, to whatever you need to change it to. We will visit these shortly. The DHCP IP address assigned to the WAN connection is 192.168.67.158/24, while the LAN, or EM1, has taken the network address 192.168.1.1/24. The LAN interface will become the internet gateway for all the devices within the internal LAN network. Let's recap some of the key points covered in this module. You learned all about pfSense, its key features and benefits. You also learned to install pfSense. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture.